In the serene and picturesque mountains, a group of friends, Aisha, Bilal, Zara, and Omar, decided to spend their winter vacation in a remote cabin. The snowy landscape was breathtaking, and they looked forward to enjoying their time away from the hustle and bustle of city life. The cabin, nestled deep in the woods, was charming and seemed perfect for a winter retreat. On the first day, the group marveled at the beauty around them, spending their time skiing, building snowmen, and enjoying hot cocoa by the fireplace. As night fell, the temperature dropped drastically, and a heavy snowstorm began to roll in, cutting them off from the rest of the world. With no cell service and the roads impassable, they realized they were truly isolated. That night, as the storm raged outside, strange things began to happen. Aisha was the first to notice the whispers in the wind, faint and barely audible, but unsettling. She dismissed them as her imagination, but the feeling of being watched grew stronger. Bilal, who was always skeptical about the supernatural, brushed it off, but Zara and Omar couldn't shake off the eerie sensation. On the second night, Zara woke up to find a ghostly apparition standing at the foot of her bed. The figure of a woman, pale and shivering, looked at her with sorrowful eyes before disappearing into thin air. Terrified, Zara ran to the others, waking them up and recounting her experience. The friends decided to investigate the cabin's history, hoping to find a logical explanation. They discovered an old journal hidden in a drawer belonging to the previous occupants, a family who had lived there many years ago. The journal revealed a tragic story. The family had been trapped in the cabin during a severe winter storm, and despite their best efforts, they couldn't escape the freezing temperatures. The parents perished first, followed by the children, who succumbed to the cold and despair. As they read through the journal, the temperature inside the cabin dropped even further, and the whispers grew louder. The friends could hear footsteps echoing through the halls, and ghostly figures appeared more frequently. They realized that the spirits of the family were still trapped in the cabin, reliving their tragic fate. Determined to survive and help the restless spirits find peace, the friends decided to perform a cleansing ritual. They gathered items from the cabin, a candle, matches, and some sage they found in a cupboard. Following instructions they found online, they lit the candle and burned the sage, reciting prayers for the lost souls. As the ritual progressed, the cabin seemed to come alive with malevolent energy. The walls shook, and the whispers turned into anguished wails. The friends held hands, their voices growing stronger as they continued the ritual. Suddenly, the ghostly figures appeared before them, their expressions changing from sorrow to relief. With a final prayer, the spirits of the family began to fade away, leaving the cabin feeling lighter and warmer. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, and the storm outside began to subside. The friends knew they had done the right thing in helping the trapped souls find peace. The next morning, the sun shone brightly, and the snowstorm had passed, leaving a beautiful, glistening landscape. The roads were clear, and they were able to leave the cabin, taking with them the memory of their harrowing experience. They knew they would never forget the frozen cabin and the souls they had helped to rest. In the small town of Maplewood, the locals spoke in whispers about an abandoned asylum on the outskirts, a place frozen in time and shrouded in mystery. The Maplewood Asylum had been shut down decades ago under mysterious circumstances, and the townsfolk believed it was haunted by the spirits of patients who had died tragically within its walls. One chilly December night, a curious journalist named Anwar decided to investigate the asylum's dark past. Driven by a thirst for knowledge and a desire to uncover the truth, he made his way to the desolate building. As he approached, the air grew colder, and the first flakes of a heavy snowfall began to fall. The entrance to the asylum was partially covered in ice, and Anwar had to push hard to open the door. The inside was even colder than outside, and an eerie silence greeted him. His breath formed misty clouds in the frigid air as he ventured deeper into the icy holes. The walls were covered in frost, and the floor creaked under his weight. As he explored, Anwar came across chilling sights. He found rooms filled with frozen bodies of patients, their expressions contorted in terror. Eerie sounds echoed through the halls. The faint whispers of lost souls and the distant clinking of chains. Spectral figures appeared at the edge of his vision, only to vanish when he turned to look directly at them. Despite the fear gnawing at him, Anwar pressed on, determined to uncover the truth about the asylum's history. He stumbled upon an old office, its door ajar, and inside, he found a stack of dusty files and journals. As he read through the documents, he uncovered the horrifying truth. The asylum had been a place of unspeakable experiments and cruelty. Patients were subjected to inhumane treatments in the name of science, and many had perished as a result. The most chilling discovery was the diary of Dr. Keller, the head physician. Dr. Keller's notes revealed a descent into madness as he became obsessed with his experiments. He believed he could unlock the secrets of the human mind through extreme measures, but his methods only brought pain and death. As the truth dawned on Anwar, the temperature in the room seemed to plummet further, and the walls began to close in on him. Anwar knew he had to leave, but the cold had intensified, trapping him inside the asylum. He could feel the spirit's malevolent presence growing stronger, as if they were trying to keep him from escaping. In a desperate bid to survive, Anwar decided to perform a cleansing ritual he had read about in his research. He gathered items from the office: an old candle, a match, and some herbs he found in a drawer. He lit the candle and placed it on the floor, then burned the herbs, filling the air with a pungent scent. Anwar began to recite a prayer for the lost souls, his voice trembling with fear. As the ritual continued, the asylum seemed to come alive with supernatural energy. The walls shook, and the whispers grew louder, turning into anguished wails. Spectral figures materialized around him, their eyes filled with sorrow and rage. Anwar held his ground, his voice growing stronger as he prayed for the spirits to find peace. Suddenly, the room was filled with a blinding light, and the temperature began to rise. The spectral figures slowly faded away, their expressions softening as they found release from their torment. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, and the asylum seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. With the spirits at rest, Anwar made his way out of the asylum. The snowfall had stopped, and the first light of dawn was breaking on the horizon. He knew he had uncovered a dark chapter of history, and it was his duty to share the truth with the world. Back in Maplewood, Anwar published his findings, revealing the horrifying history of the icebound asylum. The townsfolk were shocked but grateful for his courage. The asylum was eventually demolished, and a memorial was built in its place to honor the lost souls. Anwar would never forget the chilling experience, but he took solace in knowing he had helped bring peace to the restless spirits. The ice-bound asylum remained a ghostly legend, but its dark secrets had finally been brought to light. During a particularly brutal December, Hina and Ali, a young couple, were driving home from a holiday gathering. The cheerful evening's warmth quickly faded as a severe snowstorm enveloped them on a desolate, winding road. The snow fell thick and fast, obscuring their vision, and the temperature plummeted, causing the car to sputter and finally come to a halt. Stranded and with no sign of help in sight, they decided to leave the car and seek refuge. They spotted a dim light flickering in the distance through the heavy snowfall and trudged towards it. What they found was an old, seemingly abandoned house, its structure looming eerily against the snowy backdrop. With no other option, they entered the house, which creaked under the weight of years of neglect. The air inside was musty and cold, but it offered a shelter from the relentless storm outside. As they settled in, they noticed the house was still furnished, though everything was covered in a thick layer of dust. The first strange occurrence was the sound of footsteps crunching in the snow outside. Ali peeked through the frosted window, but saw no one. Moments later, the temperature inside the house seemed to drop further. The windows began to frost over with what appeared to be ghostly messages written in the ice. "Help us. Trapped. Save us." Terrified but trying to stay rational, Hina suggested they stay together and wait for the storm to pass. As they huddled by the fireplace, they heard soft, mournful voices and saw fleeting glimpses of shadowy figures moving through the rooms. The spirits of long-lost travelers who had perished in previous snowstorms seemed to surround them. One particularly chilling sight was the spectral figure of a man, his face pale and eyes wide with fear, standing by the window. He appeared to be trying to say something, but vanished before they could comprehend his message. The tension grew as the night wore on, and the phenomena became more intense. Hina found an old diary in a drawer belonging to the previous occupants of the house. The diary detailed the tragic stories of travelers who had sought refuge in the house during snowstorms only to succumb to the freezing temperatures. Their spirits were now trapped, unable to find peace. Understanding the situation, Hina and Ali knew they had to do something to help the restless spirits. They decided to perform a cleansing ritual, hoping to release the trapped souls. Using the few items they had, matches, candles, and some herbs they found in the house, they began the ritual. As they chanted prayers for the spirits, the air grew colder and the house seemed to come alive with supernatural energy. The ghostly figures became clearer, their expressions filled with both sorrow and hope. The whispers turned into cries for help, and the temperature continued to drop, making it hard to concentrate. With unwavering determination, Hina and Ali continued the ritual, their voices growing stronger. Finally, a soft glow enveloped the room, and the ghostly figures began to fade, their expressions now peaceful. The frost on the windows melted, and the house felt warmer and more inviting. The storm outside began to subside, and the first light of dawn broke through the clouds. Hina and Ali knew they had done the right thing by helping the trapped spirits find peace. They left the house as the sun rose, casting a warm golden light on the snow-covered landscape. Their car started without any trouble, and they drove home, carrying with them the memory of their harrowing night. They shared their experience with the locals, who performed a ceremony to honor the lost souls and finally lay them to rest. From that day on, the old house stood as a reminder of the spirits who had once been trapped there but had finally found peace. Hina and Ali knew they would never forget the snowstorm spirits and the night they had braved the supernatural to help those in need.